So, it's time we got down to the basis of this video. By the title, you guys know what you're in for already, but this is the primary reason as to why I have not been uploading any YouTube videos. Recently, I broke up with my girlfriend. And while it was an interesting relationship, by the title you guys already know that I'm lying, I still have feelings for her. And this video is kind of like a time lapse into the mind of somebody who is in an abusive relationship. The reason why I am not showing my face in this video is because this is a gaming channel, and as on screen, my character represents how I am feeling currently. I was a part of an abusive relationship, and I'm going to tell you the whole story of that relationship in this video. So bear with me. I'm going to put some serenading music on, and I'm going to tell you how this all started. Back in November of 2019, both my brother, a friend of ours, and I all went to the casino. For those of you who don't know, I live in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. And we went to one of the many casinos that are here. This is before the whole COVID epidemic. And one night we were just, relaxing, just making some money. And of course, a friend of ours texts us from work, and she says, "Oh, are you guys at the casino? Like, we're gonna head out. You get to meet my friend." And that girl's name is Sasha. I am going to say her name. I am not going to show her face. The reason for this is because this video isn't slander. This is more so telling my story and hopefully encouraging others to come out, in a sense. So, the girl shows up. Our friend of ours and her friend Sasha show up. Bear in mind, we don't know what she looks like, because we've never met her. And she shows up in this, skin-tight black dress, jumpsuit, whatever. And I honestly think that she's probably the most beautiful girls I've ever seen in my life. I'm not even kidding when I say this. And so we talk to her and whatnot, and as the night persists, I kind of notice that she's I kind of catch her looking at me back and forth. I didn't say anything, because this is a friend of ours friend, and she doesn't want her friends dating her friends. Fair enough. So as we're going through the casino and we're just, relaxing, they eventually leave. And that's that. Never really hear from her. We add her on Snapchat, and that's about it. A couple months pass, and she's going through something very emotional. Me being the nice guy that I am, I just hit her up with a message. Bear in mind, this wasn't me hitting on her at all. This was more so me being a good human being and saying, "Look, are you okay? Do you need someone to talk to?" I'd always do this for any one of the people that know me. They know that that's me as a person, and I like to make sure that my friends are okay. And she, said, "Oh, yes, I'm fine. She's just down, blah, 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 blah. Thank you so much for texting me," all this kind of stuff. So some time passes, and in March, about March 16th, March 18th, we get a text my brother gets a text from her asking if we would like to go over after work. My brother and I work in the film industry among all of our friends, or most of our friends, and so it was me, my brother, and our friend David. So we go over to our so-called friend Sasha's place, and this is the first time we've been there. We're relaxing, we're just having fun. We meet her friend Emily, and it's a good night. We end up going up to this place called Cactus Club. It's in, I don't even know if it's anywhere else, but it's in Canada. I don't know if it's, in the States or whatever. And we go out and we have an amazing time. It's kind of funny because the girl Sasha was sitting right beside me, and she wanted to sit in between of everyone. And she literally, instead of asking me to move out, she just crawled over me and was being very, the best word is sexual. She was very drunk at this point. Me being the guy, I'm not going to do anything at all. because that is not something I would do. I'm not going to take advantage of somebody if they're drunk. That's not me. That's never been me. No. So, I'm a little bit frightened by her because she comes off as very intimidating. And so she ends up like grabbing my arm and pulls me close and says, "You don't have to be scared of me." I'm scared at this point. So, we're enjoying the night, and she's honestly so drunk to the point where she can't even cut her steak that she got. So I cut it for her because she almost stabbed me twice. Whatever, it's kind of funny. We go back to her place, and we're relaxing. We notice that she's very upset, and she's on the phone with someone. Her friend Emily comes out and says, hey, she wants to talk to the nice twin, which me and my brother are both twins. So I'm like, oh, it's me, because my brother kind of comes off as a hothead. And so I go in there, and I'm just talking to her, making sure she's okay. And I stayed in there for about an hour, 2 hours. I was not going to try anything. I was making sure she was okay. Just talk to her. It was nice getting to know her a bit more and, talking to her. And I'll be honest, just talking to her and being able to, see what kind of person she is, it kind of made me grow a little bit of feelings for her in that moment, but I didn't really regard them in any way, shape, or form because she was drunk. And it's like, okay, whatever. So we leave. My buddy and, my brother think that I did something with her and her friend because her friend came in too, and I'm like, no, nothing happened. So we end up going home, and I get a text from her in the morning asking how I slept and how I was doing, etc., etc. And I just talked to her and I said, oh, I had a really nice time over, and, I'm like, it was, nice being able to talk to you, and I hope you're okay, and she really respected that. So a couple weeks go by, and she keeps on, commenting on my Snap stories, because I work out every day, and, a lot of them is just me working out, and she commented on it, and I ended up striking up a conversation with her, and she said that she had a crush on me, because apparently, you know how, you grunt when you work out? She found that attractive for some reason. I'm like, okay, that's odd, but whatever. And she's like, oh, I actually do like you, not just, romantic, I'm not saying, non-romantically. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I end up going out with her on the Monday. She texted me this on a Saturday or a Friday night. And I end up going over to her place on the Monday as a first date. And it's honestly a bit awkward because she comes off as very intimidating. Because she is probably, like I said, the most attractive girl I've ever seen in my life. And so, I'm over and we're having a good time. By the end of the night, we end up, making out, and I leave. I end up hanging out with her more and more and more, and I don't know what it was, but I asked to be exclusive, not really see anyone else. And she was shocked because I wanted to take this slow. Bear in mind, I have never been in a relationship, so you guys can word that together. And so, things are moving along swimmingly. Then there comes a day where it was me, her friend Emily, and my brother, and we were all hanging out, and she had a lot to drink. And she was very upset because her friend had to leave because she had work in the morning, and she was crying and all that, and I went to go comfort her, and she looks right at me and says, "Don't fucking touch me." And first off, I'm a little bit taken aback because I'm like, well, what the fuck? That's really rude. I don't know why you're, saying that kind of shit. And so that was a little bit of a red flag for me. We sorted it out, sort of, and then everything was fine. We ended up going on a few hikes, and she told me about what she did for work. She worked in retail. She worked in a lingerie place. And she used to work as an escort. I have nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. And then she told me she did cam shit, whatever. I never really paid that any attention because, this is the beginning of the relationship, so I had feelings for her, but not strong feelings, because I didn't want to be like her controlling ex, which she told me about in extent. Now, this is what's really weird, is even though she said that she wasn't seeing anyone else and didn't want to see anyone else, she still kind of had Tinder on her phone, which is a little bit off-putting, because she'd still respond to messages, or she's like, oh, I don't go on it, but it's you shouldn't have that if you only want to see me and you said you want to see me. but I digress. And, you know, like, guys would text her, and she showed me a couple texts about, you know, her escort account that she had. And basically it was just guys hitting her up to fuck. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see my girlfriend getting hit up with all these things. And so 2 weeks into the relationship, and honestly, I am like head over heels for this girl. Like, we end up, basically 2 weeks into the relationship, we end up actually having sex. And this is like my first time doing it. And so as we're doing this, you know, everything's good. And then she had her phone open to a page, and it said her body count. Now, she is 23 years old. I'm 21. I'm turning 22 August 1st. She's turning 24 November 26th. And so one thing that really, really freaked me out was the fact that her body count was... Well, what do you guys think it was? I'll give you a minute to try and guess. Okay, time's up. Her body count was 160 at the age of 23. That's a lot. And I'll be honest, I was really, really freaked out by this. And she's like, oh, like, are you freaked out? And I said, no. But in actuality, I knew that she, you know, by her story, that she kind of like flirted around and whatnot, because she posted on her story, like, for example, this one guy snoring really loudly in her bed, or, you know, this, and this. But I figured, you know what? Whatever, I'm not going to judge somebody's past. You know, I thought maybe she had like 20, maybe even 30, because that's a lot. No, she had 160 guys, which is a lot for a 23-year-old girl. I'm not shaming her, but it's like, that was a red flag in itself, but I still stayed with her. And so a day comes out the day after, and she ended up putting this thing together because I was actually writing a book. I'm busy getting it published, and she actually put together a party for me, and we took really nice pictures. And, you know, the day was fine. And then she looked at my phone and saw that this girl messaged me on Instagram from work that I had a falling out with because she was really fucking rude. That's the best way to put it. And she said, who is this girl? I said, she's just some crazy girl. And so her and her friend Emily messaged her and just reamed her the fuck out. Like, it was absurd how bad it was. And, you know, that's that. My brother ends up taking her friend Emily home. I end up talking to Sasha while I'm still there, and we are having a good time, and then I leave to go home. And I message her like, thank you so much for everything you did today. And then she starts saying how, oh, you know, any of your bitches would do this for you. And I'm like, what the fuck? And she's like, yeah, you know what? I don't mind an open relationship. I just wish you would have been upfront with me. Basically, she thought I was cheating on her. And I'm like, what the fuck? No, I'm not cheating on you. I'm not seeing anyone else. And she didn't believe me for some reason. And the reason for this is because she was projecting, and during the entire relationship, she was projecting her past insecurities in the relationships that she's had onto this one, because she's been cheated on. And even though she says that she hasn't cheated, if you're still with somebody and you fuck somebody else, that still constitutes as cheating. So she is a cheater. And so the next day comes and she doesn't remember a word of it. Bear in mind, she was drinking a lot. Okay? And we had fights here and there about small stuff. Like, for example, I forgot what she was wearing the night of when we first met because I got it mixed up. She was wearing a leopard scarf and a black dress. I mixed it up by saying she was wearing a black scarf and a leopard dress. And the next day I went over and she's like, oh, you know, you say all these things like you want to, you know, be together, blah, 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 but you can't even remember what I wear. And it's like, okay, relax. And one of the reasons why a lot of the times I had my brother talk to her is because she didn't want to listen to me. And so by the time, you know, she got really pissed off because every time I'd use my words, she wouldn't listen. And I tried being communicative from that point forward, and she just wasn't having it. So previous times, I ended up having an injury done to me a few days after the party she put together for my book. And I was so humiliated in the injury. I'm not going to tell you what the injury was. It was the point where I actually had to go to the hospital because I'm going to tell you, I sliced open my finger, and she did it. And I was upset because it was humiliating because, like, I'm bleeding all over the place and all that. And she said I was insensitive to her feelings when I was in a great deal of pain. I'll give you a hint, it wasn't my finger. Anyways, so I ended up getting shit sorted, blah, 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 blah. And so everything from that point forward was okay. One of the first nights that I slept over, that day, we went downtown Vancouver, and she showed me this little this place called Habitat Island, which was really cute, really nice, and we sat there, and she was drinking a lot. Like, I want to say she had a lot to drink. I want to say like a liter at least, 1.2 liters of alcohol. And so, as we're sitting there, I try to take a Snapchat of the harbor, and she just sees I have a bunch of snap streaks with these girls, and they're all friends from work. They're not like, I have like 4 people from work. That's it. Okay? That happen to be girls that I have streaks with, and she said, oh, like, who are these girls? Who's this? Why do you have such a long streak with her? And it's like, okay, like, it's no big deal. They're just streaks. Like, I don't send anything to them. I'm not flirting with them. I'm being honest with you. I'm not doing anything. I'm showing you my phone. And she's like, well, I don't show you all the guys that Snapchat me. And it's like, but you do. You've literally shown me texts of guys saying they want to fuck you raw for like $800, and then guys sending you dick pics left, right, and center. And it's a little, double standard that she's like, oh, I don't show you this, but it's like, you do show me that, and I don't need to see that shit. I don't want to see that shit. And she kept on playing games throughout the entire relationship. Like, she kept on saying how, oh yeah, she could fuck anyone she wants, or, oh, this guy just snapped me, and then she'd show me, or then she'd be like, oh, like, I really need to talk to you, and then I'd go over, and she'd be like, oh, never mind, I'm just kidding. And I thought it was a serious matter, and it's like, I have shit to do that day, and she called me over because she, instead of just saying you wanted to see me, she was playing games and basically manipulating me to get over there. And you're probably wondering where the abuse comes in. I'm getting to that. I have to show you the backstory of this relationship. And so, as we're downtown, she flips. Like, she flipped like that. She started telling me how when we first started dating, the reason why she started dating me was because I was convenient. And I'm like, what the fuck? Did you actually just say that? And I'm like, really upset because she's like, oh yeah, like I first started dating you because it was convenient, because there's this guy with the same name as me who lived in Montreal that would always text her, and I never had a problem with that until she started talking to him a lot, and I found out that this guy would call her and they'd fall asleep on the phone together, and that's fucking weird, man. If you're in a relationship, that's fucking weird. And so I was mad, and I said, okay, well then what? Like, the first time we had sex, I was convenient for you? And she started crying and said, wow, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you, took a special moment that I know was special for you and just thought I was using you. And it's like, well, that's what it sounds like. And she tried to turn it around on me and make me the bad guy. And then she started saying how she could fuck anyone she wants. And, she's like, I could fuck that old man over there. I could fuck those kids over there. And it's like, okay, 1, don't say that again. 2, why are you saying this? And she tried to make me the bad guy. And then while we were also downtown waiting to get picked up, because the sky trains were still down, aka the subway trains, whatever. She was so pissed off with me that when we got in the car, she was telling me before we got in the car, she was like, oh, well, I'm gonna, I want to go to this party and I'm gonna sleep there tonight. Do you mind if I do that? And it's like, yeah, I fucking mind. So the first night I ended up staying at her house was because that night I thought that if I let her go to this party and she stayed there, I knew she would have cheated on me, because that's the type of person she is. I did not trust her for that fucking reason. And you'll see why later down the road. So I sleep over, things happen, I leave the next day. We're good, First time I slept over, I really enjoyed it. The circumstances I didn't enjoy because I wanted it to be special one night, not just, sleep over because I thought she was going to cheat on me. And so she tells me how she's going to have her friend, this guy named Wyatt, come over. I'm like, oh, okay. And I thought he was going to come over just for a couple hours. No, he ended up coming over at 11 o'clock at night, and he brought her alcohol. And I'm like, what the fuck? So they end up hanging out till 2 a.m., and I get a text from her saying, hey, my friend just tried to kiss me. I'm like, are you serious? Are you kidding me right now? And she's like, no, why would I lie about that? That's a serious matter. And it's like, I'm just asking. I thought she was fucking with me because I can't believe a word she says because of the games she plays. And so she then texts me and says, okay, I'm going to go to bed now. Either he leaves or he stays. It's up to you. First off, it's 2 a.m. Why is this guy over from 11 to 2 a.m. at night drinking with you when you're in a relationship? He tried to kiss you and you're asking him to sleep over? That's not fucking happening. I said send his ass home. She left me on red and she's like, okay, fine. I'm assuming the guy went home. That guy was not just a friend of hers. That guy used to pay her to have sex with him at the measly cost of $500. So I'm convinced that night that she cheated on me, because I found this out later down the line and I was fucking pissed. Which was like 2 weeks ago I found out who that guy was. And she's like, oh, you don't understand my relationship with him. And it's like, clearly I do. You just ruined a relationship for $500. Whatever. So next day comes and I ream her out. And she's like, oh, well, nothing happened. And she tried avoiding the subject every time. That's why I'm convinced she cheated on me that night. And so a couple more days pass, and she texts me and says, oh, my friend is coming over. I'm like, okay, who's this friend? It's this guy named Ryan, who is coincidentally her ex. And he brings over alcohol, and she says, oh, I can't talk on the phone right now because he doesn't like that. I'm your boyfriend. What do you mean? A couple hours pass. She passes out. She's pissed off at me because she's like, I'm going to go to White Rock. I'm like, no, you're not. And I don't want to argue with her or seem controlling. And she's like, this is how people go missing. And she hangs up on me, all pissed off, because I said, you better not go. And then she said, well, that's how people go missing. And I said, okay, you can, what? You can go? Whatever. I don't want you getting in the car with the guy. And she's like, that's how people go missing. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This conversation is confusing me and I'm losing brain cells. So I get a text at 5:30 in the morning telling me that this guy is still over and he won't leave. Again, I'm convinced that night that she cheated on me there because this guy messaged her and said, oh, I'm sorry that I thought you wanted me, and she's been broken up with this guy for 4 years. This guy's in his 30s and he's still stalking her. This guy's fucked in the head, dude. So I go over and she's not just hungover, because I've seen her hungover at least once or twice. This is not her hungover. Something else has happened, which I found out that night. She told me apparently she tried to kill herself. But then her friend Emily told me that there's no way that should have happened because her ex wouldn't allow that. And she doesn't have pills in her house. And apparently she was popping pills like nothing. But she doesn't have anything in her house. Moral of the story is, further down the line, we end up getting into a bunch of arguments when she's drunk. Just small things. And then one day when I'm over, it's me, her, and her friend Emily. And we're relaxing. We're having a fun time. They were supposed to do a photo shoot that they saw off TikTok or whatever. I was going to let them do that. And so basically we went to the park near their house instead of doing the photo shoot. And Sasha was acting very weird. And I kept looking at Emily because I was so confused. And it starts getting dark out. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And so we end up walking back to her house. And Sasha is just pissed off. Like, she's fucking pissed. And we ask her why. Basically, she didn't like the fact that her friend Emily was snapping the friend that introduced us to Sasha because they got into a big fight. No. Her friend and I have come to this understanding that there is no way that she was pissed off because she Snapchatted someone that she didn't want her to snap. We are convinced that night it's because she thought that Emily and I were flirting back and forth, which wasn't anything that was happening. That wasn't what was happening. Nothing was going on between us, but she didn't believe us. So they got into a big fight and didn't talk for 2 weeks. And every time I would get Sasha to text her friend, she wouldn't do it. She just wouldn't, because pride took over. So I end up going over again one day, and she tells me how she has this job interview. I'm like, wow, okay, that's cool. I'm like, oh, what's the interview for? Like, where'd you find this job? And she tells me it was off of a sugar daddy website. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you serious? So I'm pretty pissed off because she's still on this kind of fucking website, and she never told me this. She was hiding it from me the entire time. And she's like, oh, I don't have an account on there. I'm like, then why are you checking your messages? And she disregarded what I said, flipped me off, and told me to fuck off. And I'm like, what the hell? So we end up going to the lake near her house, and we walk back because she had the interview or whatever. The guy was coming to pick her up, so they would go out for coffee or something, which was really creepy. And on the way back, she was wearing, just like shorts and whatever, and the guy saw her, and then she got all mad because she's like, this is why I hate men, they shouldn't be doing this kind of shit. And it's like, what? He just saw you. Like, you wanted this job interview, and you wanted this guy to come see you, and you're in a relationship. And she never mentioned that she was in a relationship, which is further fucked. And she would always hide her phone from me when she was texting this guy. And so we get back into her place, and she's basically like, you don't understand how job interviews work. You don't understand when someone finds you attractive that, is trying to hire you. And it's like, what the fuck? And I just said to her, you're being pretty fucking rude. And she's like, I don't want to fight. But it's like, you're causing an argument because you're being a bitch for no reason to your boyfriend. And I've never done anything to warrant this to you. So she leaves for a job interview against my wishes. And she texts me 10 minutes. She's like, I need you to come get me right now. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I think something happened. I run out. I can't find her. She calls me, and I can't find her. And I'm like, where are you? And she's like, oh, the job interview's done. That was quick. So I'm convinced now, thinking back on it, she fucked this guy. I'm convinced. So I'm looking for her. She's like, oh, no, I'll just come find you. I found her, and she was just on her phone texting somebody, not even looking for me. And I'm pissed off because I thought something had happened to her. Whatever. She doesn't understand that. And so as I go back to her place, I'm getting picked up because I want to leave. And she says to me, oh, it seems we're always on a timetable. Like, it's because of you I didn't message Emily because, I need to message her and you didn't help me with that. You fucked up that friendship because of your fucking attitude when you drink. That's not my problem. So we ended up getting into little squabbles here and there. Well, not little squabbles. It was only when she was drunk, which is my biggest concern with her. And I don't drink. And she said to me, oh, well, I don't drink, or you don't drink, so you can't expect me to not drink. Like, that's not happening. I'm like, okay, I never said that, but whatever, if you want to be fucking rude. So we ended up going out to downtown for a beach day. This was our first date. And she's like, okay, we need alcohol, we need this. I'm like, oh, Christ, okay. So we grabbed the alcohol, and we're on the SkyTrain, and she already had one can, so that's 355 milliliters at 7%. She had another can, which 355 times 2 plus the 7%, so she's at 14% already of alcohol. I know that's not something that how that's supposed to add up, but basically she had 710 milliliters of alcohol, and she downed that like it was nothing. She then proceeded to have another one. So that's already a liter of alcohol and 21% alcohol. And so we're downtown, and I swear to God, we should have been at the beach in like 15, 25 minutes. It took us an hour and a half to get down there because she wanted to lead the way. And we finally get down there. She uses the washroom. She ends up having another thing of alcohol. I should have cut her off in the long run. So now she's at 1.4 liters. I find out that, you know, there's this guy behind us, and she's like, oh my God, don't look. And she's like, I'm like, why? And she's like, that guy right there on the bench in the white, he's a guy that I had friends with benefits for a year. I'm like, okay, what the fuck? I don't want to know that. So as we're walking, she tells me she sees another guy that she knows. And she was going on about how blessed we are to live in beautiful Vancouver and all this, and this. And then she's like, I fucking hate Vancouver. And it's like, well, you know what? If you didn't have the body count of a Call of Duty Warzone lobby, you wouldn't have this problem. And I'm not slut-shaming her, but if she's going to say how much she hates about Vancouver and running into people that she knows, then here's an idea. Stop sleeping around. You have this many people at 23. That shouldn't be possible. And her excuse is, well, I just don't want to be alone. And it's like, that means that you need, no offense, but you need help. You need to go see somebody about that, because clearly, you know, the way that she was treating me, she wasn't ready for a relationship. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. So we walk, she uses the washroom, and she says, you better stand right here. I don't want you talking to any other girls. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm standing there. She comes out. We end up going to the restaurant. We have to go to another place, and it's about an hour and a half wait. And she has another thing of alcohol. So this is 1.7 liters so far. And then she says, after we're talking for a while, oh, I want to go get more alcohol. I'm like, okay. We go get more alcohol. She pours another 355 milliliters into this water bottle she had. So that's 2 liters she's at right now. And so as we're going through downtown, she says, you know what? We don't know anything about each other. Like, I want to ask you questions later. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Whatever. And so we get to the restaurant and we sit down, and she's like, don't look, but there's a guy right behind you that keeps staring at me. I want to switch tables. So we end up switching tables. And she goes on about, oh, I hate it when people stare at me. It's so rude. But it's like, you're literally wearing a tight dress. She does have a very nice figure. We'll put it that way. And, you know, she loves attention. She doesn't hate it. She loves it. So it was an oxymoron when she said, oh, I hate the attention. No, you love the attention. So we're sitting down, and something about like what she's doing is bugging me. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's something that I was doing was bugging her. Like, my presence was bugging her. And it came up like early in the relationship. She used to be an IG model. And I said, oh, how many followers did you have, and how much, money did you make off? She made about $7,000 a month and had 255,000 followers. But her account got banned because she kept on blurring out certain parts of her. And it's like, okay, you got banned because you kept posting pictures. And even though Instagram told you to stop, you kept doing it. But whatever. And so we get, basically the date was, we go to the beach, have a beach day, grab dinner, watch the sunset, go home, relax, I sleep over, we have a good night. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and the sun is down. She's like, oh, we gotta grab our food so we can watch the sunset. The sun is down. Are you crazy? The sun is down. There's nothing to watch. But anyways, we go down, watching the quote-unquote sunset. It's dark, and there's so many people at the beach. And she starts saying how she thinks the relationship isn't going to work out. Like, she thinks that I'm going to run. She says I don't understand or listen to her. And I kept reassuring her, no, I do, whatever. And it kept bugging me over and over. And I'm going to put some images up on screen. Well, I'm going to end up putting up a video on screen that is just crazy. But I'm going to put these images on screen. Actually, no, I'm not. Because these images, I'm just going to read to you guys here. She said this to me, and this kind of threw me off because this was literally 2 weeks into the relationship. So I'm going to read as followed. Because I had asked her what she liked about me, and I always told her how much I liked her, etc., etc. This is what she said to me. I know that you're not a mind reader. That's why I'm writing you this, not because you asked, but maybe just a little bit because you asked. But in my mind, there's always the same scenario playing. You, me, a white dress, and a tuxedo. It's the beginning of a fairy tale that my imagination plays for me, everyday imagination. Then also kids, lots of laughing and loving. It's literally perfection and nothing less. I like you because the moment I see your face, everything just clears up for me and I remember how lucky and grateful I am to have you in my life. I like you because ever since you've been in my life, nothing negative has been swimming around my mind. Of course, I am a woman, so I make assumptions and have thoughts that aren't really healthy for me, but they disappear quickly. They go away right after you send me a text, you kiss my forehead, or you hug me tightly. I like you because even though you don't notice, I think you always light up a room. You have this amazing presence about you that just makes people feel so comfortable around you. I don't think I've ever been uncomfortable around you, maybe nervous, but that's only because you're just so attractive. I like you because you always make an effort to make me happy or smile. I like you because you do all these little things you don't ever need to do, but you do them because you know they make me happy. And I will always admire that about you. I think that's the sweetest thing ever. I like you because even when I told you I'm not perfect and never will be, you still accepted me for being me and you never made a fuse about what I told you. I like that you always listen to me and I can tell you are never judging me. And you always reassure me that you never will judge me. I love the way you respect me and how I'm feeling and always make sure I'm okay. And I absolutely love the way you kiss me. I know you said you haven't kissed many girls, and I can't say that I'm not glad about that, because I am. But it feels like you're such a natural kisser. It's crazy how good you are. You're always the first person I think of when something good happens. I love all your flaws and quirks because they make you who you are. In my eyes, you're a perfect being, and please never change no matter what. I'm so glad that I found my special person. I'm so glad that it is you. There's probably a million more reasons why I like you, but you should know I'm awful at writing, so please, I'm going to leave it at that. Don't make fun of my writing, please. Bear in mind, we've had multiple fights, and she hates my quirks. Honestly, it felt like she hated everything about me, and she wrote me something like that, and it's like, okay, wow. And she wrote me this card, and basically it said how she can't wait to grow old with me, she can't wait to have kids with me, she can't wait to marry me, move in together, and have so many fun times. And it's really sad because those moments will never now happen because of what happened in the following days. During the beach day that we were there, as I said, okay, well, let's start getting home now because it's 10:30. We end up going, and she is pissed off because she says, it seems we're always on a timetable together. Like, it's never just, let's relax or whatever. Like, instead of living in the moment, you always want to just, go home or whatever because you need to leave. And I'm like, no, it's because it's dark and I want to spend some time with you, watch a couple movies, and then go to bed because, she's fucking hungover, and I want this to end, the perfect day. Earlier, when we were walking, she said to me that she wishes that she didn't have emotions and she could turn them off, and how she wishes she didn't love me as much as she did, and how she wished she didn't love me. And I'm like, that's really rude. And she says, well, that's how I feel. And it's like, you don't say that to someone you're dating, first off, because that makes them feel insecure in the relationship, and they don't want to be in a relationship that makes it feel insecure, because you just said, even though, like, for me, I loved her with all my heart, and she clearly did not feel the same way by saying that remark. So she ends up having another thing of alcohol. Let's chalk that up, another 355 milliliters. So at this point, she is at 2.485 liters. So basically 2.5 liters of alcohol. I ask if she needs to use the washroom. She doesn't. And then I use the washroom and I come out and she says to me, were you watching me the entire time? I'm like, no, I was in the bathroom. And then she says to me, so you weren't watching what I was doing? Like, you didn't see what I was doing? Like, you didn't catch me? And honestly, I thought in that moment she kissed the guy and was cheating on me. I said no. And she's like, okay then, let's go. So we go, and I keep asking her, and she keeps putting it off. And then she tells me how there was this guy that she knew that came over and said hi to her. He went into the bathroom. And as he was going to the bathroom, he kept looking at her seductively and flashing his dick from the urinal. And it's like, I said to her, why didn't you look away? She's like, I did. And I'm like, clearly you fucking didn't. And every time I tried to push her on the subject, she tried digressing it, and she kept trying to stick her hand down my pants. And I've told her no before. When she is drunk, she is very forceful. I'm not even kidding when I say this. And before I had told her, you know, like, you can't be so forceful. When I say no, it means no, regardless of how drunk you are. Like, I don't care. If I say no, it means no. And she took that as me calling her a rapist. I didn't get raped, first off. But if I say no, and I don't want you to, and you keep fucking doing it, I'm gonna fucking call you a rapist if you keep fucking doing it. And she was upset because she thought I was calling her a rapist, which it kind of constitutes. Anyways, so we walk back home, and she starts wanting food, and I'm like, no, I'll just make you something at home, because she's really fucking drunk, and I want to get her home ASAP. She started saying how I always check my phone, how I'm waiting for another girl to message me, and it's like, I work in film. I worked in film for the past 8 years, and I will always check my phone because it is in my job description to always check my phone. Because in film, if you miss an email, you don't work. So I always check my phone regardless of who I'm with, what I'm doing, no matter what. I could be having the time of my life, and I'll still check my phone. So she was arguing with me with that, and we would make our way down to the station, and she chose to go down to the farthest station instead of the one that was right near us. And as we're walking, this guy who was looking at us as we passed the 7-Eleven was leaning against the building, and then he started following closely behind us. I honestly thought we were going to get jumped. It was like midnight downtown, and bear in mind, we made it safely. Whatever. We get on the SkyTrain. She seems to have sobered up because I gave her water. Now, her analogy is if she drinks water, she gets more drunk. And I'm like, first off, more drunk isn't a word. It's you get drunker or whatever. Or, you know, more lit. Anything but more drunker. Anyways, that doesn't make any sense because it's supposed to sober you up. Or, you know, like, whatever. We get on the SkyTrain. Before that, we stopped at a hot dog cart to get her some food. And as I leaned in to kiss her, she looked at me and says, I don't want to kiss my ex. How do you think that makes me feel? That makes me feel like I'm a bad guy for doing nothing. I didn't do anything. And I'm not. And she says how I always play the victim, but I am, because you're literally emotionally abusing me and playing with my feelings by playing all these games and saying all this rude fucking shit. And so we're on the SkyTrain. Of course, she sees another guy, and I can't access my phone because she says if I go on my phone, she's going to get pissed off, and I don't want to piss her off more. And so she's talking to she calls this guy over who I'm convinced she fucked because she apparently has fucked a whole Warzone lobby. And so she's talking to him. He compliments me on my nice big-ass beard I'm growing here. And he leaves. He seemed like a nice chap, and I said, oh, yeah, she's like, oh, are you staying the night? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, okay, good. And as we're on the SkyTrain, she keeps on trying to put her hand down my pants, and I keep telling her, no, stop. And she looks at me and says, okay, since I can't touch you, you can't lay a hand on me. And literally hits my hand off of her, almost like, literally is, you know, like, basically, like, going away from me, and I'm like, how does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. And I'm pretty upset, and we walk back to her place. We're inside, and this entire night, honestly, she was talking about how basically she feels like an object because she wanted to, a separate night when I was over and sleeping over, she was like putting on like lingerie, and I was in the shower with her, and she said, oh, like, you want to get out because you just want to fuck? And I'm like, no, I want to get out because I'm feeling dizzy. I've been standing in the shower in hot water for 2 hours, and you just said you want to get ready. And she said, oh, you make me feel like an object, and, you know, you're being very pushy. But it's like, you make me feel like an object. You keep, like, I've never made you feel like that because you keep trying to put your hand down my pants and always wanting to fuck me and making me feel like an object. So, no. Stop with that contradicting bullshit. Back to the night. We go in her bed. We sleep. She sobers up. She eats food. She's sober. She's fine. One thing leads to another. We stay up till 5:30 in the morning, and I end up having arguments with her almost all fucking night. And my brother was pretty pissed off because, you know, he went home to our parents, and our parents were pissed off that I didn't tell them I was staying over, but basically it got lost in translation that I was staying over. Blah, 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 blah. So I wake up the next day. My brother had the other car. My dad's like, oh, I'll come pick you up. I don't want you riding the Corona train. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So I want to let her sleep as much as possible because we went to bed at 5:30 in the morning. And she was crying about this guy, the French guy, who apparently she loves so much and she was going to marry him and do all these things with. This guy she has fucked over for 8 years. And she was supposed to hang out with him for a week, and she ditched him to go party, and she hung out with him for a day instead. So no, this guy is wrapped around her finger. So I wake up at 10:30. I get a message from my dad. He comes at 11:30. I wake her up and say, hey, I'm about to leave. And she's like, wow, you're making me feel used. How? I told you I have to leave in the morning. I told you what's happening. I told you I'd text you. I told you that you're still drunk. I want to make sure that you're sleeping this off. And she basically says, oh, can you get me water? Can you get me this? Can you get me that? I'm like, whatever. So I get her that. And I said, okay, I'm going to leave now. I love you. Like, you know, can I get a hug? Can I get a kiss? Can I get, you know, whatever? I love you back. She calls the guy right then and there while I'm in the room. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why is she doing this? The guy answers. And he's like, oh, I can't talk. I'm at work. I'll call you in an hour. Bye. And I literally left the room pissed off, and she calls me back. And she says, oh, I love you, bye, whatever. I told her previous nights, if she ever talked to an ex or a guy that was into her, which this guy loves her dearly and sincerely, and if she ever played any more games, I would leave her. And she somehow convinced me that, oh, well, you know, 1 game a month. No, I should have put my fucking foot down right then and there. And her ex still emailed her, still messaged her on Twitter and shit, which is fucked. This guy needs a fucking psych evaluation. Anyways. So we ended up, you know, I left. I didn't hear from her. And I'm like, oh, did you talk to Brendan? She's like, yeah, I fell asleep on the phone with him. It was so good to talk to him. I'm like, yeah? Okay. I was really mad because she never wants to tell me anything serious, and throughout the entire relationship she says how I don't listen when I am listening, I don't communicate when I am communicating, and she never ever talked to me about serious shit, which pissed me off. And so we ended up getting into a fight that entire weekend because she was still talking to this guy. She understood my feelings. She's like, oh, what, are you jealous or something? I'm pissed off that you're talking to him instead of me about problems, and I'm your fucking boyfriend. And you said to me that night, oh, you want to marry this guy, you wanted to do all this, and now you can't because you're with me. And then I told her, oh yeah, you said, oh, you wish you didn't love me as much as you did, and all this. And she's like, wow, I've really said that? I'm like, yeah. Do I get an apology? She's like, no, because that's how I feel sometimes. Wow, okay. Left her on red, didn't talk to her Saturday. I was done with her fucking bullshit. Sunday rolls around, I call her and tell her how I feel, and she hangs up. And we're supposed to go over the Monday, my brother and I, for her friend Emily's birthday. And she's like, oh, well, hopefully this doesn't impact that, because that'd be real childish if you guys don't show up. Okay. Next day, I show up at 11 o'clock. She's coming over show up at like 12, so noon. Her friend Emily's coming over at 2. We have stuff to do. And I said, okay, let's go. And she says to me, calm down. I don't like to be rushed. She hasn't gotten anything. She hasn't done anything. We still have to bake a cake. We still have to set up the decorations, etc., etc. Literally, I was really mad because the night before she was being rude, and she was still being rude when I was over. So her friend Emily shows up. I baked a cake or whatever. And they're getting ready, and her friend Emily could see I was visibly upset. Like, I did not want to be there because of what Sasha was doing to me. And so I'm literally just sitting in the corner because they're like, oh, we're changing, don't look. And Sasha's like, don't look, because she already thinks I'm hitting on her best friend when I've never done anything like that. And I'm texting people. I'm like, I don't want to be here. I really don't. And I'm really upset. I'm having really bad anxiety. I have anxiety attacks as of this year, which is something I'm not used to and I'm still trying to cope with as of this video. So I ended up, I know I'm saying so a lot, pardon me. This is me telling a story. This is not scripted. This is me telling the relationship and getting off my chest from start to finish. And so as, they're getting ready, my brother comes with her friend and we're going to have a beach day. The entire SkyTrain ride there, she felt very passive aggressive. The entire time I was there, she felt very passive aggressive. We get down to the beach and she says, "Oh, I got to talk to Emily for a second." We're walking by and I see this guy look over at her and she was flirting with him. What the fuck? Why are you flirting? And then even her friend Emily was like, "Why the fuck are you flirting with other guys when you're in a relationship and your boyfriend who loves you is right behind you?" I give her all the attention in the world and she's seeking attention from other guys. So it's like, what the fuck? I wanted to leave right then and there, but I stayed because it was her friend Emily's birthday. So we go down to the water. I didn't even want to touch her. I didn't even want to look at her. That's how mad I was. And so we took some pictures. We go into the water. She's fucking shit-faced. Of course, she's had 2 liters of alcohol again. And she's talking to me and she tells me how she went through this very bad spot with her parents. And she's telling me all this personal stuff. And she's like, "Wait, no, you won't get it." So she stopped telling me about personal shit. And she was in the water for about 50 minutes. It's like 7, 8 o'clock. It's not warm out. It's pretty, cold out. And she's been in the freezing water. So I go in and pull her out, get her back to shore. She's so drunk. She ends up puking. We end up getting her home. And I wanted to break up with her that day because I was done with the abuse. I was done with the emotional abuse. I was done with the games. I was done with her flirting with other guys. I was done with all of it. As I was in the back of the Uber cradling her head because she was so sick and so hypothermic, I don't know, my love for her, I loved her so much because I'm like, I want to take care of her. I love her, blah, 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 blah. I end up staying over because I want to make sure she's okay. She's hypothermic, so I cuddle with her and I'm like, yeah, Emily's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to sleep in the bed." And I'm like, "I'm staying too." And then Sasha says, "Oh, no, I don't want you." And then, her friend Emily says, "Oh yeah, see, he's going to sleep with you tonight." And she's like, "No." And she's like, "Babe, I don't want you here." And I'm like, really? Wow. Okay. So that kind of hurt my feelings. And moral of the story is, my brother and her friend went to go grab some food for them. I was going to stay and make sure Sasha was okay. And then as I'm in the room, she doesn't realize I'm in there. She's like, "I'm glad they left." Except, me, because she's like, "Oh, he gives me cuddles." And I was guaranteed if her friend Emily didn't pipe up, I knew she was going to talk more shit. I knew it because she is that type of person. As the night went through, my brother and our friend came back as I'm talking to Sasha, and I'm like, "I don't like the way you're treating me. I don't like the way you're talking to me." And she's like, "Well, why is it other people can take it and you can't?" And it's like, because you're playing with my fucking feelings. Stop. You've been doing this for like a month. Stop. She clearly doesn't get it. And so as I'm there, my brother and our friend come back and I tell them to leave the room because this is between us. And her friend Emily's passed out and I'm telling all the stuff that is wrong and what she needs to stop doing. I talked to her for 3 hours. She was joking around. Her joke consisted of basically kicking me in the balls. I was in a great deal of pain. She was playing like jokes, pretending to choke. And then she's like, "Can I have some water?" And I thought she was joking, but she was actually choking. And I playfully tried to play off the joke, and I grabbed my water bottle and held it close to my chest. And she's like, "Wow, I want to break up with you. You're so immature." And I mean that. So you saying that you don't love me, you saying you flirting with other guys, you doing all this shit is immature, is you being mature, and I'm the immature one for trying to play off your joke? Okay, that doesn't make sense. And I talked to her about, why do you keep saying rude shit? Stop. Just stop. And I literally laid on the fucking floor with her, telling her to stop, and she wasn't fucking listening. I couldn't do any more. I slept over. Next morning comes. I leave to go to the gym and come back. The day is fine. Not really. Later on in the night, I said, oh, I'm not sleeping over. She didn't like that. She wouldn't let me touch her. She wouldn't let me kiss her. She's like, I'm trying to distance myself from you because you're leaving soon. And it's like, I'm leaving in like 4 hours. It's like, why are you such a bitch? We only have these fights when she was drunk. That's why I tried to make sure that she was fine. You know, that she stopped drinking, but she didn't get it. Next day rolls around, the Wednesday, and I go over later. I did not want to go over because I knew something bad was going to happen. My brother had a thing going on with her friend, even though she said that she didn't want anything. He kept on being a little pushy. She kept on wanting to do things with him. So of course, you know, it's weird. It's not something I'm gonna, because that's not concerning. And basically, my brother, Emily, and Sasha were talking in the car. I was outside with a buddy of ours, and I had Sasha's phone, and the entire time Sasha was like, I don't trust him with my phone. I don't trust him this. What if he's looking through it? What do you have on your phone that you don't want me to see? There must be something. There must be. And we go inside, and earlier she ended up like trying to basically aggressively take my hat off, and she kind of punched me in the face a bit, and I'm like, okay, stop. And she's like, wow, you're so immature. It's like, you just punched me in the face. So how am I immature for you punching me in the face trying to take my hat off? That doesn't make sense. And she goes on about, oh, I moved out when I was 16. I know how to do stocks. I know how to live independently, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't know how to do stocks. There's no way. There's no way. Let me tell you why. She's not that type of person. And she goes on and on and on and on and on about how she's mature. And it's like, okay, just because you move out at 16 and have your own place does not make you mature. Sorry, that's the cold hard truth. She plays games constantly. She manipulates guys' feelings. She constantly posts thirst traps on her story. She literally posts pictures of her naked on her story to try to get people to message her because she loves the attention. And she says she hates it, but she loves it. Back to the night, she wanted to talk to me. And even her friend Emily was like, yeah, she's being really rude. I don't know why she's being so rude to you. She literally said to me, I'm so sorry. And I try to talk to her. She decides to not want to talk, and she starts making noodles. Sasha. I'm like, whatever. And she said rude shit to me all night, so I'm sitting down on the couch. My brother left the car on the entire time, so they had to wait because our buddy Ryan had to go to work. And so my brother drives him home. Emily and Sasha are both really, really drunk, and they start making out with each other. And she's like, wow, you'd join if you weren't so pissed off. I'm like, no. I'm not going to join, and I don't want to sit near you either, because if you're going to be rude, I honestly, like, don't want to be here. And I told her that, and she's like, wow, that's rude. And it's like, no, you're being rude to me all day. Like, why would I be around someone who constantly keeps putting me down? It doesn't make sense. So we go into her room. Everything's fine. I'm talking to her. And she needs to take a shower because of the seawater in her hair. I'm like, okay. She's like, can you join me? Blah, 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 blah. She ends up saying how she doesn't want to be in a relationship with me anymore, how she doesn't want to be with me anymore, and I'm taking this, like, as, okay, whatever, like, she's just drunk. Earlier, she told me this really heartbreaking story about what her childhood was like, how she was essentially molested by her stepdad, her dad isn't in the picture, and her mom doesn't believe her, most of her siblings, except for 2 of them, don't believe her, and this is like, okay. She got pissed off at me because I wasn't crying. And she's like, Emily cried. And I'm like, I'm trying to be strong for you. She's like, I don't need you to be strong for me. I'm strong in myself. I'm a strong woman. And I'm like, okay. But I'm still going to be strong for you. Like, what? So I get out of the shower. She's really mad that I'm not sleeping over tonight. And she's like, I'm done with you, we're done. And I said, you know what, Sasha, I'm breaking up with you because I can't handle your constant games. And I honestly think that you use alcohol, sex, and drugs, which she did cocaine for a week in the Dominican Republic and didn't remember an entire day. She lost an entire day from her memory. And I said, you use these as vices because you can't handle what you're like. And apparently me suggesting to get her help from a psychiatrist and stuff like that to talk to somebody is me being pushy like her ex. And it's like, no. She ended up going to someone, and the only thing she grasps from that is she needs to stop drinking. She does, because she constantly substitutes liquor as a way to distribute her pain. So we end up getting into this fight. I'm trying to leave the washroom, and I'm putting my clothes on, and she is just like pounding on the door. Like, she will not let me leave. I yank open the door, and she keeps smashing it on the shower wall. Like on the door to the shower, sorry. And as I'm like, what the hell's your problem? She's like, you're literally just like my ex. Like, you're just like my ex. And I'm like, I literally said this to her. Have I ever abused you? Have I ever emotionally abused you? No, you did that to me. And earlier in the night, I confronted her and said, you know what you're doing is emotional abuse. She's like, yeah, I know it is. And I like doing it because, you know, it was done to me. So I do it. I do these things to push people away. That's me. And it's like, what? She then started crying because my brother was in the next room. She's like, you just told everyone here, and you clearly wanted people to know that I was abused by my ex, Eric. I never said the guy's name. I said, you were abused. I said, have I ever done that shit to you? The answer was no. Apparently me getting the same haircut as him, that's why she was so pissed off with me when her and I had a beach day, which doesn't make sense. She then decided to call up. She was going to call up her ex to drive her. I said, no. I grabbed her phone and said, we're talking this out. Because she always likes to run. I'm not letting her run. That's where the ex thing came from. And I gave her phone back. And I'm going to show you the following clip. There was a video, but it unfortunately showed her face. So I don't really want to show that because I don't want to show her identity. But this is the video that I took of her. Well, just watch the video and you'll understand.
It's like, you clearly don't get me.
But you chose this, though. You chose...
I want to go have a talk with you, and instead you just want to leave.
You did not want to have a talk with me, though.
I want to have a talk with you.
You never said that. You just kept on saying, I want you to leave.
Said,
No,
like,
you
no,
said you want me to leave. I never said, no, I'm leaving. I said, you want me to leave. I was getting my clothes on, and then you were sitting in the shower, and you said, you want me to leave.
Okay, what are we doing? Going for a walk? No walk? What do you want?
Let's go for a walk, then.
What do you want? I'm gonna fucking smash something. I swear to God, I'll smash your face, I'll smash a wall.
If you smash my face, you're gonna go to jail, so...
Yeah, I definitely will, and I'm okay with that.
Why?
Because I'm angry.
That's not an excuse.
It doesn't matter. I get in these rages. That's what I...
What you just saw was what she was like that day. Let me tell you how much she had to drink. She had 2 bottles of champagne, a bottle of tequila, a bottle of red wine, and 4 nude vodkas that she shared with her friend Emily. Let me just tell you this right now. She drank 90% of what I just described because she loves to drink, and she uses it as a vice to not face her problems. She threatened to smash my face in, and she tried to justify it by saying she gets into rages, which doesn't make any sense. The reason why I included that clip is what I'm about to tell you is when the relationship turned from emotional abuse to physical abuse. I ended up talking to her. I wasn't going to leave because I wanted to still sort stuff out. And I said, look, I still want to be with you. And she's like, no, we're done. We're done. Okay. We go outside and I'm talking to her. And she got so aggressive with me is that she backhanded my face, knocked my hat off, and smashed my nose with the back of her hand. I already have problems breathing. That's why I sound like this. Because when I was in high school, I got a slap shot to the face, which broke my nose, and to the point where I almost needed to get a nose job, which thank God I didn't, but I might have to in the future if it causes breathing problems. And then she tried smashing my phone and slapping my hands and trying to get my phone from me. Holy shit is all I'm gonna say. I tried talking to her, and I talked with her from 2 a.m., which is when this happened, to 4:30. She called her ex. she didn't like what I was saying, even though I said I still want to be with her, because I said from the way she was acting, she sounded like we were still together. She stormed off and she left. My brother and I went back into her place, took the Advil that I had bought her originally, or the Tylenol or whatever, because I didn't want her to OD on them, and we go home. Get in the house, it's 5:30, I'm getting ready for bed because it's 5:30 in the morning. I find out that she texts me, she's like, no, are you awake? I'm like, why'd she text no? And she then goes to describe, oh, you know, like, we're broken up. I'm like, no, I tried to fix things. She's like, you broke up with me. I'm like, yeah, no, I tried to fix things with you and you wouldn't let me. Instead, you ran. She's like, you, blah, 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 blah. She sent a voice message and it was like, oh, like, you're a twin. Like, she started making fun of me because I was a twin. Because she doesn't understand the bond that I have with my twin brother. And I said, you will never understand that. It's like her bond with her best friend. I will never understand that. But apparently when I say something along the lines of that, she gets pissed off and doesn't understand and makes fun of me for it, which is very mature. She's not childish at all. So I sent her a bunch of messages saying I still wanted to be with her, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, just remember this. I changed my Facebook status to single and went to bed. I wake up 3 hours later. Her friend Emily called me, texted me, where is Sasha? And then called me again. I was asleep and it was on Do Not Disturb, so I didn't hear this. As I ended up, I saw that she messaged me and she's like, I don't remember a thing that happened last night. Which is bullshit because my brother messaged her and said, oh, do you remember anything that happened last night? She's like, yeah, I remember most of it. So she lied to me. She's like, you changed, and then she goes, you changed your Facebook status? And I didn't even respond to her. She's like, wow, so that's it then? Yeah. She then messaged me, can I see you? I will stop drinking, I promise, but can we just talk in person, please? I promise I will just listen to you, and you can say what you have to say, and we can talk it out. And at the end of seeing me, you still don't want me to date, then I'll understand, but please just let me see you for the last time. I just can't leave this, like, please. The last memory I had of her that night was her smashing my nose and leaving to go with her ex. After I said to her repeatedly, if you call up your ex, we're done. If you play games, we are done. I ended up talking to her and told her, you're never going to change. I believe that she was going to trade one vice for another, aka she, instead of drinking, she was just going to do drugs, because she does hardcore drugs, I'm sorry. And I finally sent her a message Saturday. Friday on Snapchat, it showed her at this place, this mountain to watch the sunset with a guy. And I said, wow, you moved on quickly. I called up her friend Emily that morning, the Thursday morning, because this happened on a Wednesday, Thursday morning. And she told me, yeah, you know, like, she was, like, flirting with other guys. She didn't, her friend Emily didn't know about all this shit that Sasha was doing to me. Like, she said that she made her promise that she wouldn't treat me like other guys, that she's done like this before and manipulated and done all these games to, and all these things. And she didn't know that this was happening. Her best friend did not know this was happening. So I finally said, okay, I'll talk to you. And I really did, because I still loved her so deeply. So I sent her a message. Okay, blah, blah, blah. We went back and forth. I said, okay, I'll see you. She kept manipulating me and wanting to see me Saturday night when I had plans. And she had plans Sunday. And I said, okay, well, why can't I just see you Sunday? Because she said she had no plans, and then she changed saying that she had plans. And I'm like, okay, but why can't I see you Sunday morning? Because I have plans right now. And she's like, oh, well, I have plans. I can see you tonight. And I'm like, no, I have plans. And she's like, well, you know what? If you wanted to fix things because you did this, then it's like, no. You left me. You left me. And I said, if you leave me, I'm done with you. Because you should not be going with your ex to a place that's an hour and a half away from your house and sleeping there. I'm convinced that night that she fucked the guy. I'm convinced that she's cheated on me on multiple accounts. She just doesn't want to fucking admit it. So I ended up saying, you know what? We're done. she proceeded to she proceeded to call me and text me multiple times. She said, "Oh, if you don't come, then I'm going to mission. Like, can you please call me?" Like, she called me 14 times on her number, 14 times on a no-caller ID, and texted me 34 times, Snapchatted me 6 times, called me on Snapchat 6 times, and then sent me 26 messages on Snap. Yeah, and she just said, "Oh, like, if I don't hear from you, then I'm coming to see you," and it's like, she never did. She never ever did. And I finally said, "Okay, you know what? I want to see you," and I went over on Tuesday. Went over Tuesday, talked it out, and I asked her all these things, like, why were you still having people over, this, and this, and I asked her, were you with your sugar daddy on Friday, which that's who she was with, because her friend Emily told me that. She said no. I said, okay. I had asked her the night before, on Saturday night, "Oh, what, do you have a date? Is that why you don't want to see me tomorrow?" She's like, "No, I don't have a date." On Tuesday, I talked to her. We were fine. We got back together. As I'm talking to her, come Thursday, she says to me, Wednesday, she says, "Oh, yeah, would you be mad if I slept with somebody or went on a date?" And I'm like, yeah, why? She went on a date 3 days after we broke up because apparently me ignoring her, she decided to move on that quickly, even though she said she didn't want to be with anyone else, she doesn't want to flirt with anyone else, she doesn't want to fuck anyone else, she doesn't want to do all these things with anyone else. And it's like, wow, so you lied to me. You literally didn't believe in the relationship to the point where you turned it on me and you tried to forget about me by going on a date with this random guy. Which she did. I said, "Did anything happen?" She said, "No." That's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. I believe that she fucked this guy because there's no reason else why she would say, "Oh, would you be mad if I slept with someone else or like went on a date or whatever?" And it's like, no, I know for a fact you probably slept with this guy. You just don't want to tell me. If I looked on her phone, it would have shown 161. Not kidding. Finally, we ended up meeting on Thursday. I was really upset when she told me this because apparently she deleted all the photos already. She threw everything out and she told all of her friends and family that I'm a piece of shit. I broke her heart. This, and this. What? You're the toxic one in this fucking relationship. You did toxic shit. What do you mean? I never did anything to you. And so as I was talking to her, she was talking to her mom. She's like, "Yeah, you know, like I'm just talking to this douchebag right now." And it's like, really? And she kept saying rude shit like this. And as I went over Thursday, she got home around 8:30, and I went over, and she seemed so passive aggressive. She literally posted on her story her like almost completely naked, barely covering herself, and listening to sad music. She's like, "Yeah, I'd invite you into the shower, but you know what? No. I don't want you in there." Okay. She started saying how her pet bunny that she had named Coco, cute little thing, hated me. How she's like, "Wow, like, you know, like I don't like you," and stuff like that, even though she wanted to get back together and I wanted to get back together and we're trying to sort shit out. And she kept being so passive aggressive, and she's like, "The way you're sitting, it just kind of feels like we're friends." And I'm like, "Do you just want to be friends then? Like, I don't understand this." And she goes, "No." And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. Like, why else would I be here? I'm not here to be your fucking friend." And I told her, "Oh, you know, I want to date you." And so, you know, we ended up getting intimate, blah, 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 blah. And as we go into her room to watch a movie, she says, "Yeah, you know what? I do this with all my hookups." I look right at her and I say, "Don't ever call me a fucking hookup." Because that's offensive. It is. I'm not a hookup. I'm your fucking boyfriend who left you because you're an abusive bitch. Sorry, that's the way that it is. And so, as I'm there, she is just like passive aggressive as hell. I leave. Next day comes, and honestly, I realized that she's never going to change. She's acting the same when I'm texting her. She's still playing games. She's calling me rude for no reason. And she's like, oh, they were just jokes. And it's like, clearly they're not just jokes. So I say to her, this message is what I wrote to her because I believed that we were done. I said, hey babe, well I do care for you and do believe you can change, and I'm open to that fact. I don't think this will work anymore. You and I are two different people, and I don't think we're good for each other right now. I have a lot of things in my life that I need to sort and don't want to make you feel unimportant. I know I wanted to get back together, but I have respect for myself to walk away from this. The first month of the relationship should be the easiest. I know you promised you will change, but I'm not sure I can be with you. It was hard coming to this decision, and I've thought about it long and hard. I enjoyed seeing you last night, but right now I don't think it's going to work. And I told her that because she thought it didn't offend me that she went on a date so fast. It does, because it makes me feel that whatever she said to me felt unimportant, that I was unimportant, etc., etc. And it's like, if you're gonna say all this shit and, willy-nilly go on a date, and she's like, well, that's because I don't want to be alone. And it's like, I think you do need to be alone. You need to sort your shit out, and you need to come to terms with the fact of who you are. You're a toxic person that needs to grow up. Sorry, that's the way it needs to be. She called me and convinced me to go over. I was about to leave, and my parents and my brother stopped me. I called her. She was still manipulating me. I just didn't know it. And I called her, and she's like, no. We can sort this out. Like, she's like, I've never had a guy walk away from me before. This is interesting because of how she looks. She thinks she can get whatever the fuck she wants. And because I'm an ex that's not in her life anymore, she doesn't like that. Not one bit. So she hung up. She blocked me on Snap. I blocked her on everything else. I thought it was done. She then emailed me. She's like, just thought we would end on a positive note. Please read. Hey, I wrote this out a few different ways, so I hope this one comes across right. I hope you're doing well, and I thought I would just write something out for you to get it off my chest and find some closure in this mess. I see that maybe we weren't meant to be. Maybe you were only supposed to be in my life for a short period of time, like more of a lesson than a real relationship. You and I had some pretty incredible memories I'll never be able to top or forget, so I thank you for that. We won't ever be able to make more, but I'll forever cherish the ones that we had. The period of time that we were together, I was the happiest I've been in a while, so again, thank you for giving me happiness. I felt loved, I felt whole, even if it was all fake or temporary. I'll still cherish every moment, I'll never forget, and I hope you end up finding someone who makes your heart full, someone who completes you. You deserve all the happiness in the world. I'm sorry I messed it up for us. I will always care and love you. You will not always care and love me because you move on so quick. And you obviously don't care about my feelings, and everything you've said to me was a lie. It was never fake or temporary. It never should have been fake or temporary. And the reason why she probably said that is because she's trying to turn around on me. Because she kept on saying how I never gave her any chances, but I gave her loads of chances. I asked her why she was flirting with other guys. She says she doesn't know. I said, why? And she still will never give me an answer. I will never get an answer to this fucking day. I asked her, were you with your sugar daddy? And she said, no. I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, oh, I thought, I was with him earlier. I didn't think you were asking that. I'm like, I asked you if you were with him in general, so she lied to me then. I'm convinced that she has, because she lied to me about her friend Wyatt. She was constantly, when I was over that Thursday, before I broke up with her last week, she was constantly hiding her phone from me and texting a guy. She's like, oh, this is just a friend. But how do I know it's just a friend? Because clearly you can't have guy friends over. Or guy friends in general, because you fucked all of them. So that's the story of the abusive emotional and physical relationship, and that's her. She does cam shit. She literally makes $250,000 a year because she has 588 people at $25 a piece. That's about US, so that's 23,000 Canadian. Yeah, so she's making a shit ton of money, and honestly, it sucks because I had so much planned with her. I had so much things I wanted to do with her. Her, Emily, and I were supposed to literally travel the world. We were supposed to go to so many places. Hell, we were all supposed to move in together. It was going to be a good relationship, and I couldn't wait to experience this with someone I deeply cared about and love. I love her still, despite what she did. But I had to walk away because I had to respect myself, and she played around with me. So that's my story. So if you're in an abusive relationship, regardless of your gender, if you're a guy, walk away. You'll regret it. It's going to suck. Your heart will feel empty. Mine feels empty. But it's for the better. She still posts things. She keeps calling me the toxic one, which is funny because she did all this shit. And she posted, "Some nights I wish I could go back in life, not to change anything, but just feel a couple things twice." And then she ended up going on the app Bumble, which my friend sent me a screenshot of her profile. And basically it was like her description was bubbly, bouncy, and a little bit saucy. But no, her description should be bubbly, bouncy, and a little bit abusive, because that's who she is. But I want to say thank you if you've listened to the entire story. This is a long video, but unfortunately there was a lot to get across. So hopefully this video kind of, tells you, read the red flags, read the signs, and get out of an abusive relationship. I would say thank you for watching, because thank you for hearing my story. That's been my story, and I hope to deliver content to my followers in the future. But thank you guys so much. Everyone take care, and if you have any questions on the relationship, comment down below. Thank you. I want to do a little bit of a side note here, is I think the saddest part for me in the relationship is the fact that someone else is going to make her happy. And I found out from her friend, Emily, who I'm still very good friends with, that Sasha's trying to deflect, and that she is never going to find, she implied this, she's never going to find someone as great as me. And she fucked up. That's it. And I just wanted to include that. And the saddest part is she's going to be with other people that are going to make her happy. And that's what bugs me the most. But thank you. I just had to include that. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.